The topic given to me is ARIMA forecasting. So I will try to discuss on this, and I will use eView software for the demonstration. The session is divided into two parts. First of all, I will discuss the theoretical background of ARIMA, and after discussing the theoretical background, then I will demonstrate the examples in the eViews. So let me share the PPT first. And last 10 minutes I will keep for the query. If you have any query related to the topic, you can ask. So I hope you can see the slides.
Yes.
Basically, this ARIMA consists of three things: the AR, the I, the MA. So there are three components of ARIMA forecasting. Now assume that you are interested in forecasting the financial time series. We can forecast only the time series variables using the ARIMA. We are not doing the prediction using ARIMA for cross-section data. It is only for the time series. Even not for the panel data, only for the time series. Suppose you are interested in forecasting the stock price of a company, and let's say Reliance or any other company. So you want to know that in which direction the price will be. The price will move in the coming days or coming years. Now the simple question is that on what basis we can predict. So what is the basic fundamental requirement for predicting the time series? So the first thing we require is the past data. So whenever you want to forecast for the future, the first concept is to discuss the past data. So that component is known as AR. AR. The first component, past data, is known as AR. If you see this equation carefully, YT means Y on the next day or Y in the future. It may be daily, monthly, yearly. Most of the cases, we apply monthly data, we forecast the monthly data or the yearly data, because daily data we are having a lot of fluctuations.
Sir, can I request one thing? You will
Yes,
start
sir.
at times introduction and stationary. It is not already stationary in time series. Then we'll start. It will take 10 to 15 minutes for about time series. That will be better because the first class in time series.
Okay, it is the first session of time series.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm interpreting in between.
Okay. Basically, time series is a data when you collect the observations in a chronological order. So that data is basically, we are having three type of data set. Quantitative data set. I'm talking about the quantitative data set. There are three type of quantitative data set. One is cross sectional and time series and panel. Time series is a specific case when you collect the data according to the time or in a chronological order with a set frequency. The frequency may be daily data, maybe monthly data, quarterly data, yearly data. So when you like, for example, we have GDP, monthly GDP of the country from last many years. So if you have the data of GDP from last many years, and it is also a time series. When you have the stock prices, commodity prices, crypto prices, it is also the time series. And sometimes you have the monthly sales, monthly demand of the product. So that is also time series. So time series is having only two components. Number one, the chronological order, means date wise, month wise, year wise. And the second component is the frequency. Frequency means whether the time series is a daily time series, monthly time series, or weekly time series, like that. And we also have the second time series, time series which are having in second by tick data, second by second data. Like you know that in the stock market, the data changes after every 15 seconds. So even that data is also considered in a time series. But we call that high frequency data because the frequency is very high, very small. So that is, I think, that is a time series. Time series data is very popular data for the forecasting, because in cross-sectional data we don't do forecast, we do prediction, and here we do the forecasting. And even in panel data we don't do forecasting. Forecasting exists only in the time series data, because forecasting we have the past data, we have the current data, and on the basis of that we are forecasting for the future. So the ARIMA technique is one of the most popular technique for the forecasting. So let me discuss in a very because sir said it is a first session on the time series, so I understand you are at a very basic level. Okay, now let's assume that I want to forecast your mood for tomorrow. Let's talk about very general thing. And with this example, I will relate the ARIMA example. ARIMA. So I have my friend X. I want to forecast his mood for tomorrow. And so how it is possible? Number one, the first thing is that I want to analyze the mood of the person today, yesterday, day before yesterday, and all. So first of all, I need the past data, because past behavior will give you a hint that how the future will come, right? Because in most of the series we are having the momentum, and in some of the series we are having the you know that there's a concept called momentum, and there's a law in science, right? So momentum means if you are moving up or if you are moving very fast, so you will take time to slow down. So at least we can forecast for some more time. That is called momentum. For example, if GD is increasing, it is very difficult to slow down. It takes time to slow down. So you can predict the direction for some more time. So when we use the past data or the current data or existing data for forecasting for the future, this is called auto-regressive component. Now you can understand this component by this equation. Yt is the dependent variable, y is a financial time series, t is future time period, and we are predicting the future time period with the help of yt minus 1 means 1 period before, and yt minus 2 means 2 period before, right? And yt minus p is 3 period before. So you have different periods, like this is yt minus 1, yt minus 2, yt minus p. So these things are the current data and previous data. So past data, when the past data gives you the hint about the future movement, this is known as the auto-regressive component. So in ARIMA, AR means auto-regressive. AR means auto-regressive. Okay. Now I'm telling you some examples. There are many series which are moving with the momentum, like interest rate is moving with the momentum. The GDP is always having a momentum. So even demand and sales are having the momentum. So the series which are having the momentum is not a long-term momentum, it is a short-term momentum. In long-term we call it trend. So momentum is a short duration movement. So when the series are having momentum, there are many series with their momentum. It is very easy to predict with the help of ARIMA model. I think ARIMA model is the most popular model which is used to forecasting the momentum series. So this is the first component. And now let's move to the next component.
Sir, would you mind to explain theta 1, theta 2, theta?
All other are the theta 1, theta 2, all these are the regression coefficients. So they are just regression coefficients.
Okay.
Because this is a regression equation. This equation is a regression equation. And in regression equation, we are just using the regression coefficients. And the independent variables like yt minus 1, you can see that yt minus 1, yt minus 2, yt minus p, they are the past behavior.
Okay.
So with the help of the past behavior, we are going to predict the future. Basically, whenever you are going to predict somebody, you have to start with the past data. Otherwise, it is very, very difficult to predict the future. So I hope you understand what is the AR component.
Yeah.
What do you mean by white noise?
Have I mentioned white noise here?
Yeah.
Okay. White noise actually, whenever you do a forecasting, the error term of the forecasting model, right? The error term is the forecast of the forecasting model is known as white noise. Why it is a white noise? Basically, the term white noise consists of two words, white and noise, right? And noise, this word noise is coming from the electronics, physics, and the noise means anything which is having unequal frequency, let's say amplitude. In physics, we call that amplitude. Anything which is having unequal amplitude, that is called noise, because say all signals have the specific frequency, right? All the signals have the specific frequency like this, but noise is like no set frequency, right? So the first property of the noise is like this. But one thing, if you observe that the mean and the variance mean of this series is constant. If you take any sample, the mean will be constant. So when the mean will be constant throughout the time, but the variance is unequal, so it carries some property of the stationarity. Stationarity means the movement is predictable, right? So this property is known as white noise. So if I explain according to the books, so white noise can be defined as those time series which are having constant mean or time invariant mean with unequal variances and are stationary in nature. So that is the definition of white noise. Anything which is not clear, please, you are most welcome to ask. That is very good. You are asking. Okay. So actually in regression context, the error terms, UT is the white noise, right? Where UT is a white noise disturbance term. And in layman terms, it also means that UT do not have any meaningful information in that. The error term should not having meaningful information. So whatever information exists in the error term is a noise. So that way it is called white noise. Okay. Now let's move to the next. How to go to the next page? Yeah. Now we are having the moving average concept of moving average. Now, whenever I say moving average, the participant understand that the moving average which they studied in the statistic books, that you take the average of 3 last period or 4 last period and carry on. But that this moving average is not that moving average. Now, if I want to forecast your tomorrow mood, right? What will be your mood of tomorrow? So one thing I want to know that what kind of news or the new information you heard about today. So whatever you came across with the new information or the new news, that will also affect your mood for tomorrow. If you heard good news today, it is possible that your mood for tomorrow may be good. And if you heard bad news today, your mood may be bad tomorrow. So the second aspect which I want to know is that which kind of news, which kind of information you got today. So that is called the moving average concept. Moving average concept. Now I'm giving you one example. Suppose the stock price of a company is 100 rupees. And according to the prediction that if everything is normal, the predicted value should be 102. So you are expecting 2% return on in next period. So this is time equal to 0 and this is time equal to 1. So you are expecting that the stock price may move to 102. So this is your prediction, assuming that there is no new information comes in the market. Now this is called prediction price. So we represent prediction by y hat. But there are two possibilities of actual price. This is only the prediction price. But when the time actually comes, suppose the price move to 110 or the price move to 90. Now, if I ask you that why the price move from 100 to 110, why this price move from 100 to 110, the answer is that it means some positive news comes in the market. The answer is that if some positive news comes in the market, the price may be increasing. The price may increase in the future. So this is the concept of positive information. So whenever you heard about positive information, positive news, it is obviously that your market, your behavior is positive, and your behavior is positive, then price will go up. It is also possible that some negative news comes into the market. It is also possible some negative news, some unexpected negative news comes into the market. So what happens? The market react negatively, and the price will go down. Now, in this case, the prices go down. So now I hope one thing is clear, that why the prices are moving up and why the prices are moving down. Because of the prices, because of the news, sorry. Because of the news. If positive news comes, price will go up. If negative news come, price will go down. And if you understand the human psychology, in case of positive news, the reaction is not as good as we expect. Right? So there is a size effect also. Right? The news have two type of effects. Every news has two effects. One is called size effect, and second is called sign effect. So in this case, the sign is positive, and the size is 110 minus 102, because 102 is the predicted. Right? 102 is the predicted value, so the size is +8. So here we can say that the news have two effect of +8 in terms of size and positive in terms of sign. Similarly, when you talk about the negative part, and we are expecting the price to be 102, but it come down to 90. So here the size is -12, and we are calculating the size by subtracting actual minus predicted. Actual minus predicted in negative news is -12, and the sign is negative. Obviously, you know that the sign is negative. So we have the size of 12 and sign of negative, right? And if you go to the market, you feel that the negative impact is always higher than the positive effect, and this concept is called asymmetry effect. Asymmetry effect in the market. Now we have to accommodate all these things in the equation. Now the question is, so all these information that we have about the new shocking news, right? So in finance terms, we call them shocks, right? Shock is something which is unexpected. So how to incorporate the effect of these shocks? So this is the question. So to accommodate this shock, first of all, we have to calculate it, estimate it mathematically, and then we have to incorporate it in the equation. So now I'm going to explain how we can do it. So let me remove it first. Okay, yeah. I need again that pen. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Somebody from the background is removing the annotation, so I need that. Okay. So the next concept is the how to estimate the error term. So I represent this error term is equal to y minus y hat. So this is my actual value of y on actual value, and this is my predicted value, right? So, and if I say this is t, so this is also t. So for every day I have the error term, which is the difference between the actual minus predicted. Now I am putting this error term in the equation. So I am saying that yt equal to alpha plus beta into et minus 1 plus ut. Now you can see I write this equation, and this equation will tell me whether this error term, this error term is called shock, which comes on the last day, whether this shock can influences the tomorrow movement of y, right? So this is called moving average concept. So the moving average concept is the process of accommodating the previous news in predicting the next movement of y. So that is the concept of moving average. So I hope you understand what is the concept of moving average. Actually, there are many series which are news sensitive series. Like, you know that there are two types of people in this world: those who are having stable mind and those who are having fluctuating mind. A stable mind are those people who don't fluctuate much, and fluctuating minds or moody persons are those persons who fluctuate too much. Similarly, we are having two type of financial time series. The one type of financial time series are those which do not fluctuate much. They moves in the momentum. So whether the negative news comes, whether the positive news comes, the news will not affect this series. For example, interest rate, because the movement of interest rate is lying in the hand of the RBI, so it will not fluctuate much. GDP will not fluctuate much, right? These sales and demand, we don't have much fluctuations. So these kind of series have the AR component in excess, and the series which are influenced by the news, like crypto. You know that crypto market is heavily influences by the news. If positive news comes, crypto market, there's a lot of pump in the crypto market. And if there is a negative news comes in the crypto market, there is a crash. So that is called pump and dump. So good news may lead to the pump in the market, and a bad news can jump. Nahi. Dump. There's a lot of dump in the market. So pump and dump depends upon the news, right? So news play a very, very important role in these markets, right? So whenever you want to predict these kind of markets, you have to take the current sentiment of the market. So current sentiment can be measured with the help of these shocks. These shocks in the form of the error term. And when you incorporate these error terms, you can predict in a much better way. So there are two types of financial time series: Moody series and the stable series. And but whatever be the series, we have to take both the components, AR component as well as MA component, in the prediction of the series. So finally, when we combine AR and MA, so these series are known as ARMA series. So this is the basic method of forecasting the time series. That is ARMA, AR for ANIMA, MA for moving average. And you know that there is a P and Q after that. So what is this P and Q? So what do you mean by P and what is mean by Q? Now the question is that if you are taking the past data, so how much past? So 2 months, 2 years, 20 years, how much past data? So that is called P. Like for example, if you see this equation, in this equation, yt is the dependent variable and we are considering yt minus 1, yt minus 2 and so on and up to y minus p, t minus p. Now the question is that how much p? How much p? If you take only one series t minus 1, it is called AR1 series. If you take y minus yt minus 1 and yt minus 2, then this is called AR2 series. If you take t minus 1, t minus 2, t minus 3, it is AR3 series, right? So it in this way we define that how many past period you are considering in the equation. So that is called P. Similarly, in error term, we have to understand that how many shocks we have to include in the equation. So the shock of yesterday or day before yesterday or day before that yesterday. So how many shocks? So this is called Q. How many past shocks you are incorporating in the equation, that is called past shocks. So if you combine them, the model is ARMA series, right? So in this way, we design the ARMA model. Now the question is that where is I? Now you may be asking that we have understood AR, we have understood MA. Now what is I, right? So now I'm telling you what is I. I stands for integrated series, right? So there are three possibilities of I. I may be 0, I may be 1, I may be 2. I have not seen any I 3 for more than 2. So there are three possibilities of I. I means integration. So what it means? If I equal to 0, it means the series is stationary by nature. If the series is stationary, then we call it I equal to 0. I equal to 1 means you need one transformation to make it stationary. So one transformation is required to make it stationary. I equal to 2 means two transformations are required to make it stationary. So that is the meaning of I. I equal to 0, it means the series is stationary. I equal to 1, it means one transformation is required to make it stationary. And most of the time we use the first difference transformation, rather first difference log transformation. So log first difference transformation, the most popular transformation to convert the series into a stationary series. Then the two different transformations are required. And in most of the cases, the first transformation is detrending or deseasonalization of the series. I mean, you have to remove the trend in the series or you have to remove the seasonality from the series. And after removing the trend or seasonality, it may be possible that you have to apply first log difference transformation. So two different transformations are required to make the series stationary. Then this is called I2. So after combining the three components, now the series becomes ARIMA series. So I is the first component to be handled. First of all, you have to make the series I equal to 0. Then you have to find out the P. Then you have to find out the Q to make the ARIMA model. Now, after the ARIMA, we have a new family of the model that is called ARIMAX model. Because the industry, many analysts in the industry, they feel that only the univariate forecasting is not sufficient to forecast the series. We must take some exogenous variables also. So here X means exogenous variables. Exogenous variables means any other independent variables which can also predict the future value of Y. So in the equation, now you can see that there are three components. The first component is yt minus 1, yt minus 2, yt minus p. This is called AR component. The second component is ut minus 1, ut minus 2, ut minus, right? U means error term. So this is called moving average component. And the third component is xt minus 1, xt minus 2, that is called exogenous component. So if you have three components in the equation, then the series is known as Aremax forecasting. Okay.
I mean, it is no more univariate, it is bivariate. Sorry, it is multi.
Yeah, Aremax is a multivariate.
Okay.
Arima is a univariate and Aremax is a multivariate.
Okay.
I hope it is clear.
Yes, sir, yes, correct.
Okay. Now the question is how to identify P, how to identify Q. These are the two questions that normally the researcher have in the mind. That how many past values of the error term, how many past values of the Y we should incorporate in the equation. So this problem can be solved by the concept of the autocorrelation function and partial autocorrelation function. So we are having two terms here, and these two terms are known as autocorrelation function and partial autocorrelation function. So now let me explain you in a layman term what is the meaning of autocorrelation function and partial autocorrelation function. Basically, when you calculate the correlation between 2 days, Y and 2 days, right? So that is called autocorrelation. Correlation means correlation between the two different variables, but auto means the correlation of the series with its past series. So let me explain you that. Suppose yt minus 1, yt minus 2, and yt minus 3 is the series. Now we can write this equation like yt minus 1, yt minus 2, yt minus 3, and so on. So if you calculate the correlation between these two series, this is called autocorrelation ACF at 1 lakh 1. Autocorrelation at lakh 1, because we started the second series from yt minus 1. Similarly, if you make the series started from yt minus 2 and take the correlation between these two series, the y first series and the third series, this is known as autocorrelation at lag 2. Similarly, we can have many other lags. So if you plot these correlations at different lags, this is called autocorrelation function. So autocorrelation function is the correlation between the series or original series with its lagged time series. So that is called autocorrelation. Now, when the process is AR, when a time series is a stable series, or in layman terms we can say, when the series is a stable series, then it must have geometrically declining ACF. And in PACF, we are having only few significant spikes. So this is the property of AR function. Similarly, in MA, PACF is having geometrically declined PACF and few non-zero points in ACF. So let me showing you this graph like this. You can see that this graph. So in this graph, I'm showing you two graphs. The first graph is called autocorrelation, and the second graph is showing you the partial autocorrelation. The first line is indicating you the correlation between series with its first lag. This is the correlation of the series with its second lag, third lag, fourth lag, fifth lag. Lag is, you can see that lag is in the x-axis. And this series is geometrically dying. So ACF is geometrically dying. In PACF, we are having only one spike. So this series is known as AR1 series. So this is the indication of indication that the series is AR1 series. Similarly, if I ask you that which kind of series is this? So in this series, the AR component is geometrically dying, and there are two significant spikes in PACF. So this series will be AR2 series. So by looking at the ACF and PACF, we can identify whether the series is AR series, MA series, or which lag we should consider for the ARIMA forecasting. So this series is AR2 series. Similarly, in this series, you can see that the PACF is geometrically dying, and there is only one spike in the AR. So this is called MA1 series. So this is called MA1 series because PACF is geometrically dying, and there is only one spike in the ACF. This is called MA1 series. Similarly, this is also MA1 series. The PACF is geometrically dying, and there is only one spike on the ACF. This is called MA1 series. Now, if you say this series, this is MA2 series because in ACF, partial ACF, we are having geometrically dying, but only two significant spike on the AR. So this is called MA2. Now, if I ask you that which kind of series is this? Now, the problem is that in this series, both AR as well as PACF, ACF and PACF are geometrically dying. So this series is ARMA series, means it is having the past momentum and it is also affected by the news. So this series can be said to be, or we can understand this series as a ARMA series. So we have, first of all, we have to find out whether this series is AR series, whether this series is having MA series, or whether this series is ARMA series. So this is the step number 1 for examining the nature of the series. I hope it is clear. Similarly, this is ARMA series. So which kind of series is this? This is AR2 series. This is ARMA series. So in actually, we have to find out the nature of the series. Okay, so we are moving to the now. So whatever pictures I showed you is explaining this. An AR process has geometrically declined ACF. A number of non-zero point of ACF is AR order. Similarly, if you want to find out whether this is MA, it must have geometrically declined PACF and number of non-zero point of ACF is MA order. So a combined ARMA series is geometrically dying ACF, geometrically dying PACF, and most of the series that we deal with are actually ARMA series.
Sir, if I'll ask, if I'm talking MA2, I mean there will be a non-zero 2 points.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
If you are saying that AR2, no, sorry, MA2, it
MA2.
means PACF, partial autocorrelation function, is dying,
Okay.
but you have two non-zero spikes in the ACF.
Okay. Okay. Correct.
Yeah. But actually, I'm telling you, it is a theoretical concept. In practical, you have a different kind of graphs,
Okay.
and most of the series are usually ARMA series. So
Okay.
in practical, we are having some different graphs.
Okay.
Okay, identification I already explained to you. After that, once you identify the P and Q, now after that you can go for a estimation of the model. Next step. The third step is that you have to check whether my model is a fit model or not fit model. So the next step is overfitting model testing, which I will explain with the help of this model testing. I will explain you with the help of the software demonstration. So we demonstrate the residual diagnostics, information criteria, and overfitting. So all these things we have to check with the software. Okay. Now let's move to the next. Yeah, this I already explained to you. Estimation, diagnostic checking. Okay. Now let's I will demonstrate you with the help of eViews. There I will explain in much detail. So I have a series. Let's say this NSE monthly data. So I have this data set and I want to forecast the Nifty for future 5 or 10 years, let's say. So let me see the data set. The data set we are having from 2007. It is a monthly data. and we are having data up to like 31st, okay, August 2009, and we are having the data up to 2019, and let's forecast for the next 2 years, and let's see whether the forecasting is coming accurate or not. Okay, so now I'm opening this data in the eViews. Let's copy it. And before going to the software, if you have any query, you can ask. Unmute yourself and ask. Meanwhile, I am opening the software. So I am opening with the eViews. eViews is one of the user-friendly software doing ARIMA very efficiently. So I am opening the software with the eViews, and if you want me to show you the right process, the file open foreign data is a work file, so you can import any data into it. Find out the file, so the location where you saved the file, and the data, Nifty monthly data. Next, 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 and finish. So data is with you. Now you are having the data set with you, and now you can apply the ARIMA forecasting very easily. Okay. So yeah. So in this series, we are having only one series, that is Nifty, and we want to predict the Nifty series. So first of all, I want to check the I of the Nifty, whether it is I is equal to 0 series, I is equal to 1 series, or I is equal to 2 series. So we have to find out that first. So if I click on Nifty, and let's make the graph. So graph type, basic, line and symbol. So this is the movement of the Nifty during the 2007 to up to 2019. And we are going to predict for the next 3 years or 4 years. And even today we can compare it, because we are in 2021, 2 years is already there. So we can compare with the forecasted values. Okay. So first of all, you can see that if I go to the view, I can see the unit to test. Unit to test will tell me whether this series is a stationary series or whether this series is a non-stationary series. So that thing I can find out easily with the help of unit root. So I select for trend and intercept level. Okay. Now you can see that this series is non-stationary. Because why it is a non-stationary? Because Nifty has a unit root. The null hypothesis of ADF test is Nifty has a unit root, it is non-stationary. So I have to transform it and find out whether the transformed series is a stationary or not. So I am going to go for the, okay, let me remove the this command line. Okay, it is not possible to remove. Well, I go for a quick generate series, and I am taking the log of Nifty, or let's say Nifty return. So I'm converting the Nifty into Nifty return by taking the dlog function in eViews. Dlog means log difference transformation, and the series is Nifty. So after this, you can see that there is a new series, Nifty return, and it is a log difference first transformation series. And I want to check whether this is stationary or not. Unit root, none, because returns don't have intercept and trend. So I'm clicking on the none. Okay. And it is found to be stationary because we are rejecting the null hypothesis. So you can see that the p-value is less than 0.05. So we are rejecting the null hypothesis that the Nifty return has a unit root. It means it is stationary in nature. So now we came to know that the Nifty is a I1 series, because after one transformation it is stationary now. So this is called I1 series, and accordingly we have to manage that. After that, Nifty return, because Nifty return we have to deal with. I want to know that whether it is a AR series, MA series, or ARMA series. So I go to the view parallelogram. Okay, so you can see that now we are having the series, and if I ask you that which kind of series is this, whether it is a AR series, whether it is a MA series, or it is a ARMA series. So the answer is that it is a ARMA series. Why? Because both AR and MA are declining geometrically. And one thing also, you can see that the fourth lag is playing a very important role in the prediction. So a huge information is lying in the fourth lag. Although lag number 1, 2, 3 don't see any information, but lag 4 is found to be significant. So we have an indication that maybe we have to apply ARIMA series up to 4 lag. So why 4 lag? Because the fourth spike is found to be significant in autocorrelation as well as partial correlation. So I have a gut feeling that I have to take 4 lags of P and Q. So now I'm going to the equation. So go to quick estimate equation. So I am taking the D log of Nifty C AR1, AR2, AR3, AR4, MA1, MA2, MA3, and MA4. So you can see that I started with the 4 lag of AR. AR1, AR2, AR3, AR4 are the 4 legs of AR, and MA1, MA2, MA3, MA4 are the 4 legs of MA. So this is, in this way we are using the ARIMA, we are designing the ARIMA model. I'm not taking any X value because that will be ARIMAX. So I'm just taking only the simple ARIMA and click OK. After that, you can see that this is the equation, and the R square is found to be 9.8%. So because Nifty is a very random series, so the R square of 9.8% is still significant. Okay, some of the coefficient you may see is not significant, but the problem is that because of the multi-collinearity problem, what happens if they are correlated but significant, so p value becomes insignificant. Actually, the rule of multi-collinearity say that if you have highly correlated variables, so their t statistics comes very low. So good R square and low t statistics is indication of the multi-collinearity. But because we are not going to make the forecasting model, actually the rule of forecasting is that the series, the equation which gives you best forecasting is the best one. So you have to ignore these problems, because the objective is to forecast, not to test the theory and or to test a model. So now this is my model, a basic model, and after, in this basic model, I want to do some diagnostic checking. So because at that time I skipped that slide because I want to show you the diagnostic testing with the help of data. So the first diagnostic testing I want to see is that whether the error term of this model is a white noise or not. So the first test of the model fitness is the whether the error terms of the model are white noise or not. So for that, I will save the error term. You can see that I go to the proc. I go to the proc, make residual series. So this is the residual series. I can write here residual of model 1. Okay. So this is the residual series. So first of all, I want to check the parallelogram of the residual series. So up to 10th, up to 13th lag, you can see that up to 13th lag, no significant spike is there, right? Up to initial 7 lag, there is no significant spike. It means the error term do not have any significant information left in the error terms. So you can see that everything is blank, no significant spike up to 10th lag. So beyond 10th lag, whatever comes, it may be by chance, because it is not possible that the any information which is 14th month back will influences today. So it is not possible. So we have to check whether the near error terms are having spikes, significant spikes or not. Here we have don't found any spikes. So it means my model passes the first test, that the model do not have information left in the error terms, because the error terms are totally blank and they don't have any information. So it means the error terms are white noise. Even you can check one more thing, that whether the error terms are stationary or not. So go to the view, unit to test. Now I want to check whether the error terms are stationary or not. They must be stationary. You can see that the error terms are stationary. They don't have any information left in the error term. So now we are 100% sure that this model is having white noise error terms. Okay, I hope it is clear now. The second diagnostic is that whether we run any other model, the AIC Schwartz criteria, Hennen-Quinn criteria, you can see these three criteria. These three criteria must be the lowest of this model, right? If I run any other model, if the criteria comes down, then that model is good, new model is good. If this increases, then our old model is good. So we have to check AIC criteria, Schwartz criteria, Hennen-Quinn criteria, and the R square is adjusted R square is 0.397. So this must be the highest among all the possible cases. Okay, suppose I want to check whether this model is better or any other model is better. So I want to remove the AR1. You can see that this is the most 95. This is the most insignificant variable in the equation AR4, and I want to check by removing the AR4 whether the adjusted R square improves or not, whether AIC criteria increases or not. So let me check that. So I am removing, I go to the estimate. I am removing AR4, and I just checked whether there is a change in the adjusted R square. It is 0.037. Okay, adjusted R square increases. Now you can see that the adjusted R square increases. So it means that a removal of AR4 is possible. Now, but we have to check again the residual of the model. So this is the, I'm testing the residual of the model 2 to compare whether this, the error terms are having any significant information left or not. Okay, so you can see that this model is better than the previous model, because error terms are even white noise today in this model. So you can see that all the error terms don't have any significant spike in the first 12 observations. So this model is also good. So now in this way we can improve the model. Similarly, I want to remove that 80. You can see that the 80 MA1 is 0.80, right? So I want to check whether this MA1 is significant in the model or not. So I remove MA1 and check whether it is useful for the model or not. So it is 0.450. Let me compare it with 515. You can see that the model is still better. 0.515 R is adjusted R square is increasing. Seems that this model is again better than the previous model, and you can see that all values are now significant. So in this way, you can try 3 or 4 models and find out the best model of ARIMA for the forecasting. Let me check that So I'm saving the residual series of the model number 3. Model 3. Okay. And again, I want to check the corollagram of this model. So again, I found the same thing, that white noise is there. This error time is also a white noise. So according to me, the model 3 is the best among the all, because it is having the highest adjusted R square as well as lowest AIC criteria. So suppose by doing this, by doing different permutation and combination, you arrive at this point. You arrive at this model, right? Because finalization of the model requires a lot of time to do a lot of permutation and combination and find out the best model. So let's suppose that this is my best model, and I want to use this model for the prediction. So after that, how to do the prediction, I am showing you that. We are having the data up to 2019. So first of all, we have to input the data. So I minimize this model, and I go to the proc. So structure resize current page. So my end date is August 2019, but I want to make it 21. So I want to predict 2 more years. So I want to predict the series for 2 more years. And now you know the at which which state the stock market is, so that we can compare with the actual thing. So now I change the date and date to 2021. So this will add 24 more observations. Yes. Okay. And now let's see the model. This is the model. Go to forecast. You can see the option called forecast. Forecast. So forecast. So in this forecast, the software is asking you, you want to forecast the D-Log Nifty or you want to forecast the Nifty? The answer is very clear. We are not interested in forecasting the returns. Rather, we are interested in forecasting the Nifty. First thing. Then software is asking you, you want to forecast the dynamic or static. Which kind of forecasting you are going to do? A static forecast means only the 1 period forecast. Means you can forecast for the only 1 more period. Suppose we are having the data up to August 2019. So we can, at the max, we can forecast for the September 2019. Right. So this is called a static forecast. But we are not interested in doing the 1 period forecast. We are interested in the forecasting for the long time. So that forecasting is known as dynamic forecasting. So when you want to forecast for the long time future, then this forecasting is called dynamic forecasting. Why dynamic forecasting? Because you forecast for the next period, assuming that value as the actual value, then forecast for the next period, assume that value as actual value, then forecast for the next period, like that. So you keep on forecasting and you will get the value. So I am going to do that. Now I want to forecast for, because forecasting is not possible for the past. Forecasting is only possible for the future. So let me forecast from the 2019 to 2021. So I want to forecast for the future and don't want actual values for the in the out of the sample observations. Okay. So this is the forecasted value. Let me show you the forecasted value in the data. In the data, we have the forecasted value. Where is this forecasted value? Unchanged. Okay, the forecasted value Nifty F. Okay, the software do not edit this value here. Okay, so I have one more solution for this problem. So I want to increase the sample size to 2021. Okay. So this command is not working here. The problem is this. So we can do one more thing. Let me try old version of eViews. Let me check it. I am increasing to 21. Okay. Yeah. So this version is working properly. Now, what I did actually, I increases the time period from 2019 to 2021. So now I have the data. So we can actually the new version is getting corrupt, so not working properly. This is due of software problem, not the problem. So now I am applying the ARIMA series. My dependent variable is dlog Nifty C AR1 and AR2. We are having AR3 and AR4, then MA1, then MA2, MA3, and MA4. So this is the ARIMA series, and okay, because we have data up to the 19, so the sample period is up to 19.
Sir, instead of MA1, you have typed MA exclamation sign.
Got it. Yeah. So thank you for your observation. Okay. Now I removed. So initially I removed this AR4, and okay, adjusted square is quite better here, 11.9. So which variable is found to be insignificant? AR4. Let me remove the AR4, and this is 1191. This is 1129 better. And MA2, let me try to remove MA2. I just want to check whether the adjusted square is improving it or not. So 1129. Now it is 1186. Fine, better. So, now we can go with this model. Suppose so forecast. We want to forecast the Nifty, and we want to forecast for the 2019 to 21 dynamic forecast Nifty, and I do not want actual. And okay. So you are having a new series called Nifty F. So open as a group. In Nifty F, you are having only the forecasted values, and Nifty is having the actual values. And if you plot the graph of both, so you can see that this is the expected value of the Nifty in the next 2 years. So this is the average expected value of Nifty in the next 2 years. So this way you can calculate the forecasted value of Nifty in the next 2 years. Even if I add value for the next 5 years, let me show you that. If I do it 25, okay, and my equation is this. So I want to forecast up to 25, from 19 to 25. Even software can do that. So if you make the graph of both the series, so software is showing you that the market may reach 14,000 in next 5 years, but it already crosses this point. Basically, there is a theory in finance. This theory, I'm telling you this theory. The theory says that this is the expected movement of the stock Nifty. It is around 15,000. But if you compare the actual series is like this. The actual series is like this. This is the actual behavior, and this is the predicted behavior. So we have a difference between the predicted behavior and the actual behavior. But actual behavior is also indicating you that there is a possibility for the market to come down in the near future also. Because market cannot move always in only one direction. So if this is the actual behavior and this is the expected behavior, it may be possible that after some time the market will correct it. So market will move according to this line in long term. So this is the forecasting process of Nifty with the help of ARIMA. Similarly, I will demonstrate you with one more example, and I will show you that how we can make the forecasting with the help of that. So let me show one more example. Okay, so I'm importing one more file. So we are having this data set in which we have 4 time series. So we are having the crude oil price and gold price, Nifty price, USD INR. So there are 4 series in the data set. And if you want to see the data set, so this is financial assets, which this file we will also use tomorrow. And let me see the data. So we are having the data of 4 securities: gold, crude oil, USD INR, Nifty bond from April 2005, and it is a daily data. So in this case, we are going to apply the Nifty, the ARIMA on the daily data. And we are having the data up to, I think, 2018, 19. We are having data up to 29th March 2019, right? And let's say we want to predict the gold price. So this is the gold price, and we want to know that what will be the price of the gold in the next 10 years. So this is the objective of the exercise. So we are having the gold price, and the first step is to check whether it is I is equal to 0 or I is equal to 1. So I see the gold plotted graph. So this is the movement of the gold, and we are incorporating the 2005 onwards data set up to 2019. So it is a quite long data to understand the behavior of the gold. And now I want to apply the unit 2 test in the gold. So the original series is having the trend as well as intercept, and the p-value is showing me that the series is non-stationary. So I have to make it stationary. So I go to the quick generate series and making the gold return, which is equal to d log and gold. So now you can see that we are having a gold return series, and I hope it is stationary in nature. Why? Because gold do not have seasonality in the behavior. So it must be stationary after the first transformation. So after the first transformation, you can see that the series is stationary in nature. We can use it for the forecasting. This is the step number 1. Step number 2 is to check P and Q. So for that, I click on the correlogram, and if I see very carefully, I have not seen any fixed pattern into it, right? So the graph is not coming very clear. The correlation, you can see it is very, very low correlation. So correlation is very low, even insignificant also. Now the question is that which series is this? AR series, MA series, or ARMA series? If I think from the AR perspective, yes, the past data is helpful in predicting the next. So AR can be taken. The second question is that can we say the gold prices are fluctuate by the news or the new information? Maybe yes, yeah. Whenever some new news coming related to the gold price fluctuates. So I think the ARMA series is sufficient to apply for the forecasting. So I go to the quick. I'm decided to go for ARMA series up to 4-5 lakhs. I started with the D-log, gold, constant, AR1, AR2, AR3, AR4. Let's take only 4 lakh, MA1, MA2, MA3, and MA4. So we are having up to 29th March 2019 data. So almost most of these are found to be significant. You can see that, and R square is quite low, but Financial Times is always have the less R square. So this 81 is found to be insignificant, MA2. So let me delete it and see is there any positive impact on the adjusted R square or not. So I want to modify the model and deleting the MA2. So I have to check 4669. 4669. Now it reduces. So it means I should not remove the MA2 because after removing it, the adjusted R square is coming down. So MA2 is found is a significant, and it is insignificant because of multicollinearity problem. So let's keep this model and forecast. Now for the forecasting, I have to increase the data set in the data. Let me click on the proc, resize current page, and okay, so the date is 3/29/19. So I am keeping the last date as 3/29/2025. So let me check whether it will work or not. Yeah, it is working. So software is adding 2192 observations, means this much of days in the data set. And we want to forecast for the next days, coming days. So go to the forecast. And I want to forecast from the 2019 to rather than 3. So 4 March 2019 up to 23 March 2025. I want to forecast for this period and don't want past data, want to forecast gold, want to forecast dynamic. Okay. Software is saying that some missing data is there. Let me check one more time. 19. Missing. Okay, let me. It may be possible that the data is missing. Some of the observations are missing. Yeah. So in this case, the software is giving you result, and so let me check the forecasted value. Gold F, gold. So gold F means forecasted value of gold. So all these values are the forecasted values, and software is showing you that these are the possible values of the gold. And if we make the graph, so software is showing you that the gold price should move like this. And in 19, the price was around 30,000, and the price is near to the 50,000 in 2021, and the price will exceed, or in 2025 the price will reach around 70,000. So according to the model, the price of the gold will touch around 70,000, 75,000 in the year 2005. So the analysis is giving you this kind of knowledge information, that this is the value of the expected value of the gold in the coming years. So ARIMA forecasting gives you a method of the forecasting of the series for the long period of time, and but the problem is that the series will not give you the exact value. The series will give you the expected value. So this is the expected value of the gold to be in the future, and if there is any fluctuations come, so with the help of this line you can also find out whether the gold is overvalued when the gold is undervalued.